Good evening, a pleasant good evening, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon session with the AI and Cybersecurity event. And it's a collaborative effort by St. George's Baptist Church, TechU Credit Union, and Guardian Life OECS Limited. A pleasant good evening to our online viewers and welcome. So this evening, we're here to learn all about cybersecurity, yes? Those online as well, I'm sure you can put it in the chat. And we're going to get started with our session here this afternoon. And to kick us off, we're going to have an opening prayer and welcome by Pastor Stanford Simon. Let's welcome Pastor Simon.
Thank you. Good evening. I want to invite you to stand, please, as we give God thanks. Father, we thank you for your goodness, your mercy, your provision. Thank you for the opportunity to learn, to understand. Lord, you said in your word, knowledge would increase. And so, Lord, the understanding of that knowledge is important. And as that knowledge is shared this evening, we pray, Lord, that our minds would be open to receive and the blessing over every word that would be spoken, the thoughts that would be exchanged. In Jesus' holy and precious name, amen. Amen. Please be seated. I want to take the opportunity here to welcome all of you who are here from TechU Credit Union, from Guardian Life Limited OECS, and we have the folks who are here from the St. George's Baptist Church, our visitors and friends, those who come to attend the session, those who are listening online. We welcome you to this session this evening where we talk about cybersecurity and AI. In many ways, within the last 24 hours, I'm sure many of you have used your cellular phone. That means you have used AI one way or another. And cybersecurity, I'm sure, may be a concern for you, even sending an email and receiving one, the last spam that you have received. We do hope as we share this evening and give you an understanding of how to use AI and the best way to ensure that you have that technical knowledge to do so. We at the St. George's Baptist Church is delighted for the opportunity to share and to be part of this. Think about this. Our mission, empowering people to enjoy prosperity and fulfillment in life. And what better to empower persons to live here on earth. There's one thing about telling you to get to heaven, which God wants us to do, and that's a lovely thing, right? But heaven is out there. We're going to get there, but we live here on earth. So we as a church want to ensure we give you the tool to live here on earth. And that is very important. One thing that you must understand, no matter what you do, from a church that started in Her Majesty prison, or a gentleman kill a man because for his man took his woman from him, as we would say, listening to a radio program on a small transistor radio is interesting because the signal came from Trinidad. The signal came from Tennessee to Trinidad, Trinidad to Grenada. He was in his cell listening. He received Christ as his Lord and Savior. He wrote to Southern Baptist that took 2 years to come. By the time they arrived, half of the prison were evangelized. Technology was used. That's how this church got started. And so for us, in the midst of all of it, we have a great understanding of the power of technology and what it can do to help transform lives and transform individuals. We hope this evening as it's shared and you listen and you understand better how to use it, but also how to make yourself available to ensure that you have a better understanding of the knowledge that is shared. We hope that you leave here much better equipped than you came. Thank you for coming. We welcome you on behalf of the St. George's Baptist Church, Guardian Life, and Guardian Group, OECS. We welcome you. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Simon. So indeed, we're going through just the formalities in terms of the introductions. And so at this time, I would like to welcome Mr. Calvin Mendez to the front as he brings greetings from Guardian Life OECS Limited. Mr. Mendez.
Thank you. I am not as free speaking as Pastor. Right, so I actually have to write down my words to make sure that I say all the right things and make sure I recognize everyone. So good afternoon, distinguished guests, business leaders, partners, and friends. It's truly an honor to be here in Grenada today to My job is simple to introduce Guardian Life OECS Limited. And we need to emphasize on the Guardian Life OECS because we realize that the brand that is mostly recognized in Grenada is Guardian Group, which is Guardian General, which is on the general side, your motors and properties and stuff like that. But Guardian Life OECS is it's a new company that we will be operating here officially, registered to start offering life insurance, health, and pension. So I am the branch manager and country manager for Grenada for Guardian Life OECS Limited, which is a part of the Guardian Life Group, which is the newest chapter of our Guardian Life Group, a proud 175-year Caribbean story. For decades, Guardian Life has been a trusted brand throughout the region, protecting lives, safeguarding businesses, and helping communities thrive. Now, with Guardian Life OECS Limited, we are extending that legacy even further throughout the Eastern Caribbean islands. So we're with islands such as St. Lucia, Antigua, and St. Vincent, all of which we are currently already registered with products approved from regulators to officially start offering those services. Grenada holds a very special place in that vision because actually Guardian Life OECS Limited headquarters is actually based in Grenada. So here is the headquarters for the rest of the Caribbean region. I mean, we're not just we're not just an insurance company, but we are looking for partners in business, helping you manage and protect your people and build a secure foundation needed for continued growth. One way of us deepening that commitment is through partnerships. And today I'm especially pleased to highlight our collaboration with Pastor Simon and the St. George's Baptist Church, and of course, our long-standing partner, TechU, way back in Trinidad. So when Pastor came to us with this idea, we all came together and allowed me to make sure I recognize TechU, all the hard work for Sherma, and he's always in the background. The hardworking people always go in the background, but they are the ones that put all of this together. So at Guardian, we pride ourselves on creating a long-standing relationship that is always mutually beneficial to all. So for business leaders, this represents opportunities, which means stronger network for financial support for your employees, greater resilience with your organization, and confidence that comes from knowing that risks are covered by one of the most trusted brands in the Caribbean. At Guardian Life OECS Limited, our promise is simple: to stand strong with you and to protect what matters most, and to help shape a brighter future and more secure future for the people of Grenada. Thank you very much, and we look forward to building a bright future together.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Mendez. So we know it's all about risk and security, and it's not just from a technological standpoint, yes? So thank you so much. At this time, I would like to invite Mrs. Josanne Neverson-O, the General Manager Corporate Services at TechU Credit Union, to bring greetings and to share a bit on TechU. Let's welcome her.
Thank you, Shuma. So good afternoon, everyone, and greetings from the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So, as Shuma indicated, I'm Josanne, and my job here is very simple. So, TechU Credit Union is a credit union in Trinidad and Tobago. And, you know, the last time I came to Grenada, it was in the Easter before Hurricane Ivan. And I remember, you know, driving through and recognizing how similar Grenada is to Trinidad. And, but however, I can tell you, when you step your foot in that water, you know, you're in the Spice Island and you're no longer in Trinidad and Tobago. So I just have to, you know, just pay some homage to that water. Oh my goodness. So TechU Credit Union. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview as to who we are, so that you could get to know us a little better, you know, understand our moorings. And I imagine that almost everyone in this room is a member of a credit union, if not representing a credit union here this afternoon. Yeah? Yeah, I imagine so. So you're going to get to know a little bit about us, understand, you know, what we do, why we do it, and then also, to the meat of the matter, what brings us here to this discussion this afternoon. So we are a credit union that is 79 years old. We actually celebrated our anniversary this week, 79 years on the 9th of September. And we were actually founded by a priest, Father Mingo. And so, you know, it's no surprise that we are, you know, sitting again in the house of the Lord, trying to do his work. So we would at that time been Pointe-a-Pierre Credit Union, and we, you know, transformed into Texaco Credit Union, and that's where you get the TECU from, and we would have been changed to TechU Credit Union in 1984. Coming out of those changes and the growth of the credit union, we would have, you know, diversified our portfolio somewhat, which would have brought us to our insurance division and to our guest house resorts division. So we actually boast of a 27-room guest house in Tobago. We also have a small guest apartments in Balandra, which is, you know, on the northeastern side of Trinidad. And then we also have TechU Insurance Solutions Limited, our first subsidiary, which was incorporated and launched in January of 2024. And we use that company to propel our insurance arm. And you'll get to understand a little bit more about TISL, which is TechU Insurance Solutions. And, you know, you'll understand why we're always in this partnership with Guardian, right? So who are we? We are one of the largest and leading credit unions in Trinidad and Tobago. We have about 56,000 members, just above that, and we have a net assets of $2.6 billion. So by asset size, we are the largest in Trinidad. By member size, we are about third, right? So, but our vision is to be the preferred provider of integrated financial services through our people, our processes, our performance, and our personalized solutions. So our solutions move not only into our interactions with our members, but also the communities that we serve, and recognizing that, you know, globally, with the use of the internet, our community is shrinking, and regionally, we do need to work together, to come together, to build our credit union community in the Caribbean. So, you know, all of that helps to form the rationale for why we're doing sessions outside of Trinidad and Tobago and really trying to reach out to the Caribbean. So some of our products, we have, of course, lending and savings, and we feature lending for various reasons: your vehicle, your mortgage, of course, education loans, and debt consolidation loans. Digital. So I must feature digital because, you know, we're speaking a lot about digitalization and you know, being on the internet. So as a credit union, we offer services, remote services for our members, and that is really featured in our e-services platform and our mobile app. You have featured there Terry, who is our mobile services avatar, and So we carry not only the ability for you to do your banking outside of the halls of the credit union, but we also do have other features like our Link U debit, our Link U cards, and various other travel-related services that would help to enhance our member experience. So TechU Insurance Solutions Limited now would be the platform on which you can access various elements of insurance products. So we would have our members' plans and, in addition, the general lines of insurance. So that would be your property, your motor, your commercial lines, and those liability coverage. And I mean, we are a credit union after all. So if it is you are unable to make those payments in singular premiums, we do have TechPay to give you the ability to pay your premiums in part. So this is just basically the features that we carry and we cover under TISL, and our general lines, actually our general health and group lines are powered by Guardian Group. So community, you can't be a credit union if you're not featuring in the community. So we are engaged very regularly in a number of activities. We have free health fairs for our members. We have bursaries at the tertiary level and at the SCA level for the little ones. We have alliances with the University of the West Indies through Professor Roger Hussain, and we do the seedling initiatives every quarter where we distribute seedlings to our members to help them to grow their green gardens. So we would have also been collaborating on the credit union front. And earlier this year, we would have launched, in partnership with Carib DE, a micro feature of the Carib DE session for credit unions who may find themselves unable to, pay the cost of sending their staff to the Carib DE sessions that take place every year in about 3 or 4 of the islands, Trinidad being one of them. So we carried this feature, we sponsored this feature, which was very well received. And of course, it covers all the elements of what it means to be part of the credit union movement, the history, understanding the importance of financials, understanding the importance of collaborating with the communities that you serve. So we actually do have another one coming up at the end of this month, a second leg. And of course, we're going to be continuing that work. So as we said, we're always in the community. So last year, we would have had our Art in the Park, which you see our president, Mrs. Sandra Matthews-Noel, featured their painting. What we would have done is transformed a number of our parks in South Trinidad with, that tactile, artistic elements that would appeal to persons, special needs children. So we're talking about persons with autism, ADHD, and so they would be able to physically interact with the artwork in those areas. We reach out to the children every year, and we have a Christmas party for the children, and then we had a hike and plant earlier over the summer, actually, where we would have planted seedlings in a reforestation exercise. So we're always involved. But what next? I mean, you would understand that over the years we would have done quite a bit of diversification, and here we are on the cusp of yet another transformation. So in 2022, we would have updated our vision and recognized that across the movement we do need unlocking value is where it's happening. You do need to, as credit union members, as cooperators, you do need to get in and understand who you are and what would have fueled you, what would have brought you to where you are today, and find those areas where you are strongest and help to unleash that. So one of the reasons why we're here today is because we actually would have worked very hard over the past decade or so in upskilling our ICT areas, really strengthening the organization from a cybersecurity standpoint, making sure that TechU is fortified. We understand that we're operating in a digital landscape, and you need to be prepared. So, it's no surprise that we're all dressed in black today. The ninjas move in black. And we know these bad actors are out there in the still of the night doing work to get access to us, get access to financial institutions. And you may feel that you might be a little fish in the pond, but they're looking at all of us. So we are here bringing the best of our skill to you to make sure that you are also positioned to understand the threats that face us today and to give you some tips and tools to navigate that so that you too can be strengthened and prepared for what lies ahead. So we know that the ICT landscape is continuously shifting. And I know that we're all digital citizens. I imagine everybody here has a phone, and everybody here is signed into at least 5 apps. I was going to say 1, but I'm sure it's at least 5, right? So our information is out there. We understand that what is happening on the digital landscape is that data is the new oil. Data is what these people are after, because your data is your key to everything else that you are. Right? When they have access to your data. Imagine if you have to log into any one of your apps, it's the data, right? Your personal information, your critical information that is required to unlock, right? And I hope none of us here are still using birthdays and those kinds of things as passwords and passcodes. I imagine that we all pass that. But we do have to understand that we're all digital citizens, and we all have to understand how to protect ourselves even on this device, right? So my team is really going to get into the meat of the matter, into the technical of the matter, and you're going to feel free, and we invite you to stop and, ask the necessary questions. We're going to be here to liaise and network with you after the sessions. But we want you to ask the questions, and we want you to engage with us and really, assimilate the information that we're going to be bringing to you this afternoon, because that's the only way that we as Caribbean people, as cooperators, as small businesses are going to be able to navigate the perilous cybersecurity environment that we're operating in. All right, so it's mission possible, and we're working for a stronger and more resilient credit union sector, and let's say Caribbean, right? So I want to, again, thank you for allowing us to, bring these presentations to you this afternoon, and I want to thank you for your time this afternoon, right? I know Saturday is an extremely busy day, and you would have taken the time to come out and engage with us. And it means that you understand the importance of cybersecurity. And, we just want you to digest what we have here, and we look forward to meeting with you after. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Nevison Orr. So we're here to learn this afternoon, and it's not just about learning. We want it to be fun, yes, because learning is good. We all were given some little books this afternoon, so I'm just going to put a plug in there. The guys are going to come and do their presentations, but there are prizes to be won. Who inside here loves to win stuff just like me? Yes? I'm sure we have people who love to win things. So make sure that you're taking notes, that you're paying attention. Those online, I am so sorry we do not have e-gifts. However, you feel free to join us still in person. There's still time. Yes? So at this time, we're going to get straight into the purpose of why we're here this evening. And our first presentation, we're going to be getting into AI, and that is going to be presented by Mr. Sion Leger, the ICT manager at TechU Credit Union. Let's welcome Mr. Leger.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for being here, right? All our participants in person, as well as our online participants. This afternoon, we are going to take you through a few segments, right? Primarily focused on AI, the cybersecurity aspect, as well as incident response, which is a very, very critical aspect as we operate in this digital space. So looking at our agenda items, segment 1 this afternoon, we're going to focus on what is AI, global uses of AI, as well as the benefits, some practical and useful tips that persons can utilize in their day-to-day lives, cybersecurity risk associated with the use of AI, as well as the role of leaders, as well as individuals in the development of artificial intelligence technology. Second segment, we're going to focus on cybersecurity, primarily the fundamentals and overview of the concepts involved, as well as the trends in the Caribbean, the costs of cybercrime, statistics over the past 5 years, as well as what is present in Grenada to assist, and it's also available on the local space in Trinidad and Tobago as well. Top cybersecurity threats in the Caribbean, cyber risk management, as well as looking at the cybersecurity framework developed by NIST. Third, we're going to get into the actual crisis room scenario, incident response, just to offer some tips and tools that persons can use in the event that they're breaching somewhere, the individuals, the businesses as well. So this afternoon, we're going to make the session a bit interactive. I would invite persons, if they don't necessarily have data, we do have Wi-Fi available at the conference hall, right? It's SGBC Conference Room 1. You can feel free to join it. Pastor has assured us that it's very safe, right? And of course, we're going to invite persons to join the first tool for our activity this afternoon, which is Menti. So I invite persons to join menti.com. That's MENTI.com. We invite our online participants as well to join that. You can even scan the QR code, right? And of course, you enter the code to the top. That's 14751860. So feel free, right? The code again. It's 14751860. Right? We invite you to join. Good. Okay, the number's increasing. Just going to get 2 minutes, allow persons a little more time to join. Again, that's menti.com, and you can enter the code 14751860. Good. All right, I'm going to be using this tool throughout the afternoon, so you're going to get much more use of it, right? So have a few persons on, right? So we're just going to ask the very first question, right? And that is, what is one word that comes to mind when we think about artificial intelligence? Right? Feel free, just enter it and submit. The code, one more time, 14751860. 14751860. Hope everybody was able to connect. Yeah, good. All right, so that's good. So we have quite a few terms coming up. Robots, data, non-human, right? We have efficiency, computers, digital learning, all correct in terms of what exactly, we think about when we think AI. Very next question, do you believe that AI can add value to your business or your personal lives, right? And again, feel free. It's yes or no. We want to see what's happening in the room, right? So, of course, I think that, yes, of course, right, it's very, very impactful in our day-to-day lives. What are some of the daily uses of AI? How do we use AI in our day-to-day lives, right? Again, share your examples, share your thoughts with us. Grammar correction, that's good, that's great. Searches, writing emails, definitely all accurate and real-life examples as to how AI helps us. Problem solving, fact-finding, automate common tasks. Do you believe that security is important with the use of AI? And again, that's a yes or no question, right? And definitely we will say yes. So I just want to thank persons for sharing, right? And we're just going to dive in to a few comments and tools with regards to AI. Good. So artificial intelligence, right? So in 2023, the Honorable Dickon Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada, would have mentioned that Caribbean business leaders, entrepreneurs need to invest in artificial intelligence technologies. Fast forward to 2025, the Canto Conference in June this year, he would have mentioned that the aim of AI, of course, is to enable digital government, government services, digital infrastructure, digital identity, a digital economy, and digital inclusion and skills. One of the key visions for the CARICOM region is also to build a single ICT space, right? And therefore, they need investments from all stakeholders in order to build that infrastructure. One of the key things, as we mentioned, and all great responses earlier, AI is really the use of computer technologies, computer systems, to do tasks that humans would normally do, right? And with that in mind, there are tools and areas where AI is useful. So day to day, we have our iPhones, we have our Android smartphones, we have Siri that's available in terms of a virtual assistant. We have Alexa, right, which persons will use to automate their homes from an entertainment perspective. We have recommended systems in e-commerce platforms. It also assists in fraud detection solutions. Autonomous vehicles, and that's self-driving vehicles. I'm sure if you travel parts of the world, you definitely use one, or you would have seen one in operation. And then, of course, there is the aspect of chatbots for customer service, image and facial recognition, as well as medical diagnosis and healthcare, right? AI has been used to be able to analyze any sort of medical reports that you may have, to make recommendations and assist the medical fraternity in terms of assisting you with medical care. So some of the business benefits of AI: automation of repetitive tasks, predictive analytics, and you would have shared those points earlier, the streamlining of day-to-day operations, routine, mundane tasks as well. And then, of course, assisting with decision-making. Sometimes you may be presented with a particular situation, and you need to be able to make a choice and weigh the outcomes of that choice. When looking at practical tips for implementation, start small, right? There is not necessarily a need to utilize some elaborate platform, but basic things in terms of your day-to-day. Begin by automating small, low-risk tasks. Also, choose the right tools. There are many tools available in the artificial intelligence space, but what you need to look at is the risk involved. Does it have a level of security built in, which we're going to get into a bit later on. And then, of course, for persons in the business field, make sure and train your staff on the proper uses of AI. Everyone, I'm sure, would have been exposed to things like ChatGPT, right? Of course, you have Copilot, you have Gemini now in the Google space. But there are inherent risks involved, right? And you must, of course, develop a framework for using it, right? Use it within your particular network environment, for example, not necessarily cloud-based, because in the event that cloud may be breached, you have your business and your information exposed. So with that in mind, the risks associated with generative AI, right? Of course, some of the content may be misleading at times, right? So therefore, we need to also evaluate that. So those are some of the deficiencies that we're speaking about. Firstly, AI can get things wrong, right? Not all the time what AI may be presenting to you is accurate enough for you to make a final decision. But you, of course, need to assess the options to determine what suits you as the individual. Secondly, AI can be biased and gullible at times when responding to leading questions, questions where you put a lot more information into it. Third, AI can be coaxed into creating toxic content, right? Content that is prone to prompt injection attacks. And then, of course, AI could be corrupted or manipulated, and that concept is known as data poisoning. So with that being said, us as individuals, leaders in the business field, as well as in your day-to-day lives, need to understand the consequences involved in the use of AI, right? Of course, looking at the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of your systems, and also the operational and reputational consequences if AI gets it wrong. So again, key questions to ask before considering the use of AI in your environment. Do we understand where the accountability lies, the responsibility for AI sits in your organization? And this is, as I mentioned before, looking at a framework. What are the policies and procedures, the rules of utilizing AI? Has that been clearly articulated throughout? Then, of course, does security factor into your decision about whether to use AI products? And definitely the answer is yes. Third, how do the risk of using AI products integrate into your existing governance processes? Fourth, how would you respond to a serious incident or security breach, right? So we're going to get into that a bit later. And do we understand where the organization may have skills or knowledge gaps? And this, of course, is awareness and training. So with that being said, we're going to get into another activity this afternoon. So I invite persons, please scan the QR code. We're going to be using menti.com. That's menti.com. Yes, no worries. And thanks. And then the code for this one is 32826065. I'm going to give persons a little more time to join, right? So I invite you to join, please. Thank you. Sure, no problem. The code is 32826065. So we're on menti.com again. That's menti.com. Nice. Right, the code, one more time, it's 32826065. You just give a few more moments for participants online as well. All right, so code one final time before it comes off, right? So it's 32826065. All right, good. All right, so persons need to be very quick with their responses, right? Because this is the prize giving segment, right? Good. So we have persons online, right? Nice. All right. Give a couple. Nice. Good. All right. Okay. We have a few more people coming in. We're just going to give them 2 seconds again. Nice. Good, good. Ready? All right. So, quickest answer, right? So you'll get a couple minutes and seconds, I should say, in between, right? So you're looking at your device. So what is the primary goal of cybersecurity? Good, come on. All right, and make sure, submit those responses, all right? A little time. Good. Nice. So, to protect information from unauthorized access, that's correct, right? So we're just continuing. We're going to see who's leading us with this first question. Good. All right. So on the top of the board, right, we have metal. No worries. We're going to identify who metal is afterwards, right? So we're going to the next question. All right, so question number 2. Nice. Everybody's in. Good. So you're looking at your phone, right? Look at your phone. Right. All right, go ahead. You ready? Yeah, enter. Nice. All right, which of the following is our best practice for online safety? All right? You have the options on the board. Sharing passwords with friends, clicking on links, using strong, unique passwords for each account, ignoring software updates. All right, good. Using strong passwords. Nice. That's correct. Okay, good. Let's see. Who's leading now, right? All right. So Liz is in front, Simba is second, ET is third, right? So we're going down the line. Right? Next question. Good. Yeah, man. All right, the quickest. You're looking for the quickest person, right? Nice. What does the S in HTTPS stand for? So I'm sure you've seen it. Browse the internet, HTTPS. Right. One, yes, we get the responses. Nice. So the correct answer is secure, right? Hypertext Transfer Protocol secure. Right? So good, no worries. All right, we keep going. All right. So nice. I feel ET's ahead now, right? Good. Last one. Let's go. Nice. All right. Yeah. Good. All right. No worries. Questions coming. Good. Which of the following is a recent trend in cybersecurity? Increase use of AI for threat detection, decrease importance of cybersecurity, less focus on data privacy, reduction in cyber attacks. Which one? All right. Good. All right, increase use of AI for threat detection. That's correct. All right. So let's see who's leading us. Let's see. Right. All right. Let's see the final. All right. Nice. Good. So we have ET on top, right? Novia and Bell. ET. Is ET present with us? ET is probably online. All right. So is ET, is Novia here? Novia, hi. So we just want to congratulate Novia, right? Thank you. Great. Congrats. And then we have Liz. Is Liz here? Is Liz here? Liz is probably online. Well, if Liz is online, is Trevon here? Is Trevon? Nice. Good. Right. And we're going to the fifth person. Is Simba present? Congrats. So great. Thanks very much, everybody, for your participation. All right, so we're going to get into a little bit of theory, so don't worry. Persons who, didn't get our prizes yet, we have something at the end too, right? So we're going. So where cybersecurity is concerned, we need to understand the meaning of it, right? And hi, question? Liz online. You will collect for Liz? No worries. We're sorting out. Let me get the prize for Liz. No worries. Liz sent her representative, right? So that's great. Sure. Congrats. Right? So we have really cybersecurity is a set of standards, practices organizations use to protect their applications, their data, and their programs. Right? That is the description from Fortinet, one of the leading, I would say, cybersecurity experts in the world. They manufacture cybersecurity solutions. They offer training similar to this, right, where they increase awareness. And they have assisted us greatly over the years. Next, we have IBM. And they are a technology developer, provider, hardware, servers, etc. They indicate that cybersecurity is used to protect individuals and organization systems, their applications, and of course, whatever technologies you use, your smartphones, your tablets, your laptops, etc. Cybersecurity is founded on three concepts, three principles, and we refer to it as the CIA triad. confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability of systems, right? So key point to remember, right? So the confidentiality aspect relates to protecting information from unauthorized access or disclosure, right? That is whereby you ensure that the information doesn't get out to persons who shouldn't have it. Second, integrity. Protecting information from unauthorized modification. You want to always ensure that the information that you receive is legitimate, is valid. You can authenticate it in some way. And then third, the availability of that information. Preventing disruptions in how information is accessed, so you don't necessarily want your phone to crash, your server that manages your business to go down, right? Those are key elements. In terms of what is happening in the Caribbean space, now, in recent years, there have been growing reports of cybersecurity incidents. Grenada, similar to Trinidad, it's no different, right? We've had numerous incidents taking place in the healthcare sector, telecom, finance, and it results in the loss of millions, and we're going to see the figures, and it goes into the trillion figure as well. Now, during COVID-19, there was an increased instance of cyber attacks because a lot of persons and businesses were pushed online. Couldn't go in physically to the bank or to the credit union. You were prompted now to do things on a digital space. And in some instances, persons weren't necessarily equipped, right, to make that transition, right? We ourselves at TechU as well would have faced a challenge where we had to get the workforce mobile, right, and put them in a digital space. So it increased the use of technology such as VPN, virtual private networks, as well as terms such as multi-factor authentication, right, which is no longer depending on a username and password, but also having a one-time passcode as an extra key or an authentication token that you would enter as well. So the cost of cybercrime right now is estimated to end this year at around $10.5 trillion, right? And that is a combination from different sectors, not just in the Caribbean, but globally. So US, UK, Russia, etc. If cybercrime were to be measured as a country, it would be the third largest economy after US and China, right? You also have that by 2031, that figure is forecasted to jump to 12.2 trillion annually. Now, this piece of information here, and it's available online on the FBI's, as the Federal Bureau of Investigation, their Internet Incident Center, IC3, for the last 5 years, there has been estimated 50.5 billion in losses, right? And this is financial losses. Persons, their individual accounts may have been compromised, money transferred out of their accounts unknowing to them. Those are some of the things that have been reported in that space, right? And this report is available online. You have the complaints by 8 sectors as well. And if you look at the screen, you realize that our most vulnerable group, of course, is our more mature individuals, persons in the 60 plus. They are as well, they're actively online, and therefore they have been more exposed to the threat of being victims of cybercrime, right? So with that being said, what is available to the citizens of Grenada, as well as in our local space in Trinidad and Tobago, is an entity called the Cybersecurity Incident Response Team, right? Grenada, like Trinidad, also has this group whereby if you are a victim of any sort of cybercrime, you can go to them, you can report them. They're usually linked to our respective ministries of national security, homeland security, and they assist citizens in terms of any investigations, any recovery works, etc. So just some useful information there. The top cybersecurity threats in the Caribbean right now: ransomware, phishing attacks, malware, insider threats, data breaches, business email compromise, We have card fraud, online scams, web-based attacks, cloud-based and Internet of Things attacks. So we're going to go through each one, right? And of course, this is a critical aspect. So ransomware, for example, this is the instance where persons are exposed to malicious code that will encrypt your information. So it secures the information, locks it down. You're not able to access it unless you pay ransom. And that ransom is usually paid in the form of cryptocurrency, right? So you will get requests for whether it be 20,000 Bitcoin, right? That's usually what is done. And you're going to be placed in a position where you have to make a decision, do you pay this ransom or not? Right? There have been attacks within the last 18 months in the Caribbean region that have crippled telecom, the judiciary, supply chain, right? And that relates to, of course, our purchasing ability. Some of our suppliers were affected by this, which delayed our acquisition by 6 to 9 months and sometimes even longer. Right? And then, of course, there's the finance, the commercial banks and credit unions. Next one, of course, is malware, right? And malware can be a combination of threats. Trojans, worms, viruses, spyware. This could damage your systems, your laptop, your smartphone, right? And of course, this is code that runs on your system that is able to exploit your device or network. We have phishing attacks, right? And when you say phishing, it's not the traditional sense, right? But phishing attacks are one of the main attacks that come through email. So you receive an email, right? And in it has an attachment. It encourages you to either download a file, click on this link. You might be prompted to even update some information. So therefore, there's always a sense of urgency in the mail, right? And that is where the inherent threat comes, because you believe that it's critical, it's important, and therefore you must do it now. But take the time to look at the structure of the email, whether or not instead of an O, it's actually a 0, whether or not it's an I and not a 1, right? Those are some of the key elements that help safeguard you against being a victim of a phishing attack, right? Just for the groups, for our learning this afternoon, phishing is another type of phishing attack, right? And that is where you get voice calls. So somebody calls you, say, here's what, we have this splendid offer for you, right? All you need to do is transfer 500 EC, right, to this account number, right? And that is now a phishing attack, because they don't normally send requests like that through the telephone, through voice calls. Then you have smishing, which is SMS or text, right? So they send you a note indicating, here's what, we're sending a code from the commercial bank, and we need you to click on this link in order to update your information, right? So I just, as we go through, we realize that it's real life, day-to-day things that can occur, and it can happen very innocently. You get the messages, and you think it's legitimate. It's coming from a bank or institution that you may know, right? And therefore, you could possibly be a victim. Then we have insider threat. So insider threat relates to internal to your organization, right? It happens within your business. Someone may potentially, in this instance, intentionally decide to offer information on your business, etc., to cripple it. That is also a risk. Then we have the aspect of data breaches, and of course, hackers gain access to your personal information, your IDs, your driver's permit, your passport, etc., and they use that information. All right? The next one, card fraud. Now, card fraud is, of course, transact business, use our credit cards, use our debit cards, etc., and that is sometimes compromised. There are a lot of tools whereby persons can extract that information from your card, right? And of course, that is utilized to extract money from your accounts. You have business email compromise, right? And of course, that is an exploit where a hacker gains access to your business email and perpetrates to be somebody legitimate. So they may send this email indicating that They're from a company that you worked with before, and therefore you are encouraged now to make a transfer, right? Because it seems legitimate, right? This is also a type of phishing attack. Then we have online scams. So here's what. You reach out to, the email contacts you, it says, here's what, you've just won 43 million EC, right? Please go to this link in order to transfer $5,000 and you get the rest, right? So that is a scam that has been around for quite some time, right? We've all received it. I've received close to 50 of them, right? So again, we need to be vigilant of those. Then we have the web-based attacks, and these, are some of the ones that myself and my team members will see on a daily basis. SQL injection. We have close to probably 2,500 attacks that come into our organization on a daily basis. And it's persons trying to breach our online platform. It's persons who are trying to change the code and make the website seem as though it's ours, but it isn't. And it's with a view towards capturing your information, and then, of course, with that now, moving your funds, right? So just something to be mindful of. So the next one, of course, relates to cybersecurity risk management, right? This is an ongoing process. You always need to be assessing the risks associated with cybersecurity, identifying them, analyzing them. One of the things that we do as well is categorize them. What's the impact of this particular risk on our business operations? Then we have the threats, vulnerabilities, the likelihood, and the impact to your business. Those are some of the things that we need to consider when developing a cybersecurity framework. Key things to consider with risk. What is the threat? What are the assets that you're trying to protect, which is your data, your information, and also the vulnerability. Identify your business assets. That is one of the key exercises to do initially when looking at risk management. What are the assets? What are you trying to protect? Customer information, employee data, banking information, your suppliers. Those are key as well. Then, of course, we identify the value of the asset. So, of course, you develop a matrix and you do your business impact analysis whereby you go through each asset type, categorize it, what's the value of it? If it were to be compromised in some way, how does it impact your business? Then, of course, what would happen to your business in this instance if the asset was damaged or if it was inaccurate in terms of information? And what would happen to your customers if they couldn't access your platform? Right? So that is a key element. Third, we have documenting the impact to your business of the loss or the damage to the assets. Then we have fourth, identifying the likelihood of loss or damage to the asset. That's a key element. Evaluate the likelihood that the asset may be lost or damaged. And then fifth, identify, prioritize potential solutions that could be used, right? So compare your impact and likelihood scores, and of course, develop a plan, right? The key thing is to always have a plan in place so that you know how to recover. So this is just an example of what a risk assessment matrix could look like, whereby all the high risk should be given priority. Definitely you treat with those first. And then, of course, you work your way down medium to low, right? Your target risk is always low, right? With that in mind, the NIST framework, as the National Information Security Task Force, they have a cybersecurity risk framework that is utilized to guide businesses in terms of if a risk was supposed to occur, what do you do? So they have 6 core functions. It was actually 5, right? And it has changed over the years. The 6 functions are govern, identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. The newest one, which is govern, talks about your framework. What's your policy? What's your procedure in place in the event of cybersecurity risk? So, firstly, we identify, that is, develop organizational understanding to manage risk to data, to systems, and their capabilities. Secondly, protect, develop appropriate safeguards, antivirus, firewalls, unified threat management systems, right? Those are key aspects to your framework. Detect, develop, and implement the appropriate activities to identify the occurrence of a cybersecurity event. You need to be able to determine when the event has occurred. You may have been breached 2 weeks ago and you don't know, right? That happens because there are some threat actors that are just sitting in your environment waiting for the right time to be able to extort funds from you, right? They may just be gathering information. So one day they capture your ID, another day they catch your username and password, and then they realize that here's what, you are doing large transfers between businesses or between yourself and another individual, and that is when they determine it's the right time to strike, right? So we need to be able to detect it. Then, of course, respond, develop and implement the appropriate activities to take action, right? That is a key element as well. And then recover, right? So you must be able to restore. And this is where your backups become key, right? You maintain a backup either in person or in the cloud. That is a critical element. Then we have the governance aspect, which is establishing the framework. Cybersecurity, supply chain, risk management, roles, responsibilities, of course, the oversight for your cybersecurity strategy. Who's responsible for it? Do you have a team of dedicated persons or even one individual, right? That's how we start small, who is actively looking at the threats in your environment. So we've gone through a lot of theory. I hope that persons were able to capture some notes, both in person and online. And we're going into another segment, just to kind of get us going again, right? So again, I invite persons who would have even joined us recently to join menti.com, menti.com, right? The code in this instance, for those of you who can scan the QR code, the code is 14596100. Right? So the code for this one, it's 14596100. And just give persons a few minutes to join, right? Good. All right. So I'm just going to repeat the code one more time. It's 14596100. All right, you have a few people coming on. All right. The number's increasing. Let's give two more minutes again. All right, good. So I'm going to repeat the code one more time. 14596100. All right. So again, fastest person to respond, right? So hope ET and everybody is online, as well as Lil. Right? All right. So there's 2 minutes again, right? Yeah. I think some people are still coming in. All right. Good. All right. So I think we can get started, right? Cool. Thanks then. So quickest responses, right? Look at your phone and look at the queries coming up. What is the CIA triad in cybersecurity? All right. Take your time. Caution, intelligence, awareness, caring, investigation, access, confidentiality, integrity, availability, coverage, information, alteration. Let's see. Okay, good. All right, yes, so we have 23 people. Correct answer, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Right, that's the foundation of cybersecurity. We're moving on to the next one. Let's see who's in front. All right. So it's a close race between DM and Kitaka, right? Good. All right. Next question. All right, your people are 2 minutes. Nice. Okay, good. Next question. All right. Remember, we're looking at your phone, right? What does ransomware do to user files? What does ransomware, as a type of cybersecurity attack, what does that do to user files? Copies the files to another computer, converts the files to videos, encrypts the files, emails the files. Those are the options. Nice. All right, so that's correct. Encrypts the files, making the data inaccessible. Right, that's the foundation of what ransomware does. All right, next question. Okay. All right, let's see who's leading now. All right. Okay, Kitaka is in front now, DM second. So we're going to the next one. All right. Okay, good. Let's give her 2 seconds again. Nice, good. All right. Third question. What is, sorry, not seeing that one. Oh, what is a cybersecurity threat that originates from within an organization? Good. This one, you need to enter. You need to type in that text. Let's see. Nice. So insider threat. Malware. Yeah. All right. Insider threat is this one, right? So that's from within, right? Let's go to the fourth one. You see who's leading? Should probably still be Kitaka, right? Nice. All right, good. Okay. All right. We're going to the last question. Oh, okay. Pingu on top now. All right. Hope I got that right. Good. All right, last question. In cybersecurity, what is the meaning of BEC? All right, so BEC. Business Enterprise Center, Business Email Compromise, Business English Certificate, Branch Executive Committee. Let's see. All right, 2 seconds, right? Good, nice, yeah. Business Email Compromise. So let's see who's leading this group. Who are the top 3 this afternoon here? All right. Okay, you have Kitaka, that's the winner. Then Ted, then DM. Is Kitaka here? That's probably online. She's online. All right, Ted, who's Ted? Oh, no worries. Ted is part of the team, so right. So not Ted. So we're going to DM. Who's DM? DM is probably online. Pingu. Wow, Pingu online. Vote Goat. Oh man, Vote Goat. What's up? Yeah. Nice. Okay, thanks for that. Thanks. So for all winners online, right? You could of course send us a message in the chat, right? And you're in Grenada, we're gonna get it to you. Yes. No worries. Oh, that's a team member too. All right. Lyndon. Is Lyndon here? Nice. Lyndon, congrats. Sure. All right. We're giving out SGBC boss. I feel like St. George's Baptist Church. Oh, that's Pastor? All right. Then the next person we have is Ray. Is Ray here? Oh, yeah. Yes, man. Nice, Ray. Good. All right, congrats, Ray. Right? We have, Liz is online. And Friday, who's Friday? Friday, man. Friday, you're winning. All right, so thanks very much, everybody, for participating, right? So we're going into the third segment, right? And this is incident response. Now, we're going to go through a few options, right, in terms of if something were to happen in your environment, right, or you personally, how would you respond to it? Now, at the end of the day, there's no, right solution, right? What we've done and what we've learned at TechU is that is a combination of tools that we utilize, right? But a key element as well is the people, right? The people that form part of our teams, making sure that they are aware, that they are on board with the processes and practices to help protect the organization and themselves, right? So this afternoon, I'm going to have my colleague, team member, he's our security analyst at TechU Credit Union, as Lennon Goddard, right? So he's going to be assisting me go through the simulation exercise, right? All right, so this happens to you. You're using your computer, regular day, right? And then, of course, you get this message. You wake up in the morning, you get this message, right? So your computer has been locked, right? And this is a traditional ransomware. So this is the scenario here. Then I'm just going to take us through.
Hi, good day, everyone.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
the system administrator has came to work and they realized that everything is locked down. You don't have access to their applications or anything like that, and they're presented with the screen. And they are being told that they have to pay this ransom in order to gain access. So obviously at this point in time, the technical team will gather and do their checks that they will have to do to assess the network, to assess the situation, and then formulate a plan on the next steps.
Good. All right. So thanks very much, Lennon. Right? So the key element is that the breach has occurred. Right? You've been hacked. Right? The main thing, of course, right, and especially from a business standpoint, is what is the message that you send out there. Right? You have two messages to develop. An internal message to your team members, because they definitely need to know what's happening, but also a wider message to your stakeholders, that is your customers, any clients that you do business with as well, they need to be aware. One of the foundational things in terms of the message that goes out is how much information do you give, right? Because at the end of the day, you're thinking about two things: the sustainability of your business, the reputational impact of this breach, right? But the underlying principle is that persons need to be aware as to what has happened, right? That's the first thing. So the communication phase. You're part of a crisis management team, right? So you form part of the team. They need your input. They need your advice, your feedback. These are the options, right? And I hope everybody could see the screen for the message to be sent out, right? First message, option A, dear colleagues, our systems are experiencing an outage. The IT team is working to get the operation back to normal as soon as possible. Thank you for your patience. Now remember, you are aware there's a ransomware attack. You know what the problem is. The second option, dear colleagues, our systems have suffered a cyber attack and are currently unavailable. IT and security teams are working to get the operation back to normal as soon as possible, but we currently do not have an estimate of when this will happen. Thank you for your patience. Now, with those two options presented there, right, I'm just going to ask our audience present here today, which option do you think would be the best suited response for your internal team, right? And I just invite anybody, feel free, just let me know which option in this regard you think may be the best. And you could even venture to tell us why. Yes, sir. A, and thanks for the response. What was the reason why? No. Let's hear from you.
Yeah,
tell us your name and...
Brian Calix.
Thank you very much, Brian. Yes, so,
Yeah, it's just as a means of just informing your staff
right,
and not necessarily tell them the extent of the situation,
good.
but you just want them to be informed.
Informed, no problem, no problem. Thank you very much, Brian. Thanks for that, right? So, thanks for that. Thanks for sharing your name with us, right? Good, good. Thank you. Right, anybody else? Anybody else has a different option? Yes, sir. Yeah, name
Aaron Gay.
please.
Aaron Gay.
Aaron?
Yeah.
Yes, thanks.
Is it a message for the internal team?
Yeah. Which one, A or B?
I would go with B.
B, right? Reason why?
Because they're within the organization, they're working with me, so at least I will want them to know what happened.
Yeah, yeah.
At least a bit more details than outside.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Aaron, thank you for your response. Now, both answers, both options, right? Same thing. All right, no worries. So, both options can be used. But the option B is the option that will give adequate information to your internal stakeholders. At the end of the day, you want to be upfront and open about what has happened because the possibility exists it's going to get out there, right? And this is your internal team members. These are your staff. So you want to make sure that they have adequate information in the event that a question is asked, right? We don't ever want a situation, the breach has happened, where we appear to conceal the information, right? Because it's going to get out. So, great. Thank you very much, right? So, we're going ahead. The external message now. So, this is the message going out to the public, social media, the newspaper, GBN, right? So, first option, our systems are undergoing maintenance and are temporarily unavailable, right? So we know it's a cyber attack, it's not maintenance, right? So the IT team is working to get the operation back to normal as soon as possible. So that's option A. Option B, our systems have suffered a cyber attack. As our priority is to ensure the security of our customers, the systems are not available currently. IT and security teams are working to get the operation back to normal as soon as possible. So, I invite somebody. Yes, sir. Share your name with us, please.
Yes, my name is Yusuf.
Yusuf, good.
Externally, that's ticklish, right? The thing is, for me, I would take into consideration the organization. What type of organization? I would go with A.
All right.
If it's not too, based on if it's let's say hospital and other stuff.
Right, yeah.
You want to be careful. You don't want to put out B. So I would for now go with A.
Go with A, no problem. So, Yusuf, yes. Nice, cool. Thanks for your explanation as well, Yusuf, right? So, good. Right? Anybody else? Right. And then we have the lady to the back, right? No worries, we get into it. Yes, sir. Name, please.
Yeah, my name is Raymond.
Raymond, good.
I would go with B, simply because you don't want it to come out eventually that you cannot trying to cover up something. You want to be very transparent with your
Right. Yeah. Good. Yeah. No worries. Huh? Yeah. Nice. So, Raymond, thank you for your response, right? Good. We had the lady to the back, but she's okay. You're good? Denise, right here. Yeah, we just want to hear one more perspective.
My name's Yvonne.
Yvonne, good afternoon, Yvonne.
Afternoon. I would go with B.
Right?
I think, unfortunately, these attacks are more common than we think.
Yeah.
And I think what you want your customers to know is that you're making every effort to protect their information. I don't think it's to lie to the least.
Yvonne, thank you very much for your response, right? That's one more. Spare me one. Nice. Thank you. Good. So, again, the options presented, right, are situational. As Yusuf said, as Yusuf mentioned, if it's out there, remember, we don't want to panic people too, right? We don't want to panic people. So, it's situational. But from a finance perspective, B is really the option. Because when it does get out, right? You don't want a situation where people feel as though information was hidden from them, right? So we stick to the facts. It's a cyber attack. It happens. It has been happening within recent times. And then, of course, what we are doing to address the attack, right? So talk about the teams, IT and security, and we're working towards getting the operation back to normal as soon as possible, right? So ideally, again, situational, and you need, as leaders and even individuals, to determine what is the best fit, right? Which is the right fit and right response, right? But be for this message. So again, we went through the situation itself, right? In terms of these are the findings: ransomware attack confirmed, online and mobile applications are down, web and email servers compromised, 25% of your workstations compromised, 50% of business applications compromised. And these are the options available to you. Restore from a backup, pay the ransom, hire a consultant to assist with the entire negotiation, turn off the equipment and servers and head home, right? So, so one of the key things is that security of the environment, the equipment, right? Ransomware, attack confirmed, Windows workstations and servers with antivirus installed, so you're protected. Only 63% updated. You have all servers in a DMZ, and that's known as a demilitarized zone. And of course, you have your workstations are compromised as soon as they connect to the network. So this is the real life scenario. So you come to work systems administrator, breach, but every time you connect a computer to your network, you're getting infected. So with this, right, so you have the CEO's position. We can hear it. There. No worries, just a little technical difficulty. We have the right person here to fix that. We're good.
I am sure that you are people best prepared to solve this problem. Remember all the investment we have made in technology and training so that we can use it right now. I and the entire team of executives and directors will be here to help you with the decisions you will have to make.
Right, good. Hi, nice, thank you. So this is the situation that has occurred. CEO has delivered a message. Right. So crisis room phase one, thanks for that. Right, what is the fastest and best solution to be used? Which solution guarantees the highest probability of success? Now, remember the options presented to us? Let me go back to it. Restore the backup, right? In an instance like this, what do you think is the best approach? You've been compromised. What would you do then? Which one of the four would you want to utilize? Restore the backup, pay the ransom, hire a consultant, or turn off the equipment and servers? Is on? Share with us your name, please.
Avelina.
Hi, good afternoon.
I will go to restore the backup.
Reason why?
Because you want to get back on track. So you don't want to pay a ransom or hire a consultant. You don't want to turn off the equipment. You restore the backup so you get things up and running.
Okay, good. Thank you very much for sharing. Anybody else? Oh, right there. That's
So I believe the first one is restore the backup because it encrypts so you can't get into your computer. But at one point you could have gotten into your computer.
right.
So I believe that you restore first to go at a point where your computer was accessible. Then if that doesn't work, then you could go to a consultant.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. What's your thoughts? Share with us.
Shiva, I would hire a consultant because they would guide me through the steps I need to take because they will be the expert on that matter.
Okay, great, great. Thank you. Anybody else wants to share? Thank you.
Hi, Yusuf. For me, everything is context. Now, again, there are times more often than not, depends on how mission critical you are. You need to pay the ransom. Simply because people might say, oh, you might pay and not get you, but it's in also their interest to bring you back online because they go want to ransom you again. So I would say it depends on how I would go with pay the ransom.
Okay, Barbara, it depends on a number of things, but if you have a good backup policy, first of all, how recent is your backup?
Right.
And if you think it's on par, 50% of your application is compromised, so I will do restore backup.
Right, good. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else wants to share? Raymond?
Yeah, because it doesn't say go home, it just says turn off the equipment. You added the go home part. Okay.
No worries.
I'll do number 4.
Right.
So nothing else is affected.
Okay, good, good.
Then check to see where the backup situation is, if it's current enough, and then restore the backup.
Okay, thanks, Raymond. Okay, great. Anybody else? All right. So, each option can be utilized, right? Depending on the situation, as Yusuf said. One of the key elements to always remember is that in paying the ransom, you could possibly be a victim again, right? It doesn't guarantee that you wouldn't be breached, you wouldn't be compromised again. So usually, us in the IT space, we advise persons, and that's the information that we present to the crisis team, to our CEOs, our chief financial officers, etc. We don't pay the ransom. Restoring the backup is good if you can validate that the backup can be utilized and it wasn't compromised. So one of the things that we utilize in our space as well is systems that replicate data to offsite locations, right? Is one of the things that TechU offers to some entities as well, where you can use that as a backup site. But also there are technologies in place that prevent the replication of the threat. Once it's been identified, we have detection and response solutions in place that help prevent those types of attacks. It gives us alerts that tells us, here's what, whether it's been low, medium, or high, right? And that it has been stopped, right? And then, of course, Lennon and team, they would investigate further, do some level of threat analysis, and dig deeper into the root cause, whether the threat originated from Russia, the US, China, or Brazil, and those are our top 4, well, I would say jurisdictions where we get most of our threats coming from, right? Hiring the consultant is an option to consider. Granted, it may be a costly investment, right? Because given the nature of it, a consultant may give you an upfront fee, but at the same time, they cannot guarantee whether or not they will solve the threat and they will fix the problem, right? So it's an inherent risk involved in that. And then, of course, turning off the equipment. Granted, Raymond, that is a good approach, right? One of the key things is, of course, being able to recover. The problem exists in where you attach new computers and it keeps getting infected. So you need to stop the threat, right? And therefore, you need to now do a clean installation of everything in the environment and then rejoin your domain and things like that. It's going to be timely. It's a timely exercise, but it's possible, right? So the fundamental message that I want us to take away from this is the element of paying the ransom. That in itself doesn't guarantee that you're not going to be hacked again, all right? So that is the fundamental message from this afternoon. I apologize for this, right? So no worries, right? So I just want persons to get a takeaway, right, from this with regards to what was the fastest solution. The fastest solution, of course, being the element of turning off the systems. One of the key things, Lennon, just no, go back. No, back again. It's good, right? Thanks. So one of the key things to look at is the evaluation of the options, right? We looked at the vulnerability management, incident analysis, cloud migration plan, and also what is your investment plan. So these areas are used in order to determine how you would approach the situation. Look at the vulnerability aspect, identify, fix, segment, isolate, and this usually has like a 48-hour window because remember, time is critical in terms of determining which option to choose. Then you have the incident analysis plan, identify patient 0, and in this instance, the original system that was infected. And this is where your endpoint detection and response tools help, right? Your indicator of compromise, that is your IOC. Right? Identifying where the threat originated from, right? Again, endpoint detection and response solutions assist with this. Then you have your targeted plan, right? You don't have any guarantees there. And then failure to fulfill this 48-hour deadline, that can be a critical element. We have your cloud migration plan, vulnerability management, your service level and your backups, right? Your disaster recovery, your native security services. And then, of course, you have your investment plan. You invest in anti-spam solutions, MFA, which is multi-factor authentication, your EDR, which is your endpoint detection and response, and then frequent penetration testing. Those are key elements in terms of what you should be focusing on, right? So those key areas will help you in terms of framing a framework that would allow for any type of incident response, all right? So this afternoon, I want to thank persons for their participation and their involvement in the cybersecurity element. We, of course, there is no one solution to treat with cybersecurity, all right? It's a combination of technologies, persons, people, that is the awareness aspect, that is critical to your cyber incident response plan. Right? I invite persons to if you have any queries afterwards, feel free to reach out to us. Right? We can reach at ICT_security@techutt.com. Right? We also have our marketing team led by Denise Julian Stout, Dr. Denise Julian Stout, and they can be reached at marketing@techutt.com. At this point in time, I thank you very much for your participation. One question from, sorry? Well, Yes, you can, right? But I don't want to hold back my colleague too much, but let me take two. Let me take two questions at least, right? Yeah. Sure. Thank you, Denise. Right. Yes. Yes, no
Thanks.
problem.
I'll be quick. Novia, my name is Novia.
Novia?
Question one, how dangerous is it to keep reusing the same strong password, a good password, on different sites?
Right. So, what's the name again? Novia? Novia, thank you very much for the question. Right? So, I like your keywords, strong password, right? But it's advisable. Password should be changed every 90 days, no matter what, right? And strong means combination of alphanumeric, right? We advise persons to even utilize phrases, right? Now, a strong password is really 16 characters or more, right? And you use a combination of phrases, right? Use the first letter, change the letter to a special character, things like that. But we recommend 3 months, 90 days, change your passwords. All of our systems are set like that, and it's something you should practice on a daily basis, right? I know it's difficult, because sometimes we have so many platforms, and we just want to use the same thing throughout, right? But ideally, it should be every 90 days, right? Any other questions? Yes, thanks Denise for that. Different platforms, different passwords. No way? You have a follow-up? Sure, no problem.
Second question. I don't know much about this, so this might sound silly, but
Not at all.
If a file is corrupted,
Mhm.
right, on my computer, and I have cloud storage, like I have OneDrive, right? Cloud storage. It gets duplicated to the cloud.
Yes.
Does it also get corrupted on the cloud, or just on my computer?
Now, thanks again, Novia. Now, if you've detected the compromise and your online platform wasn't synced, then you're fine. But if you did an automatic synchronization, then it's compromised too. So it's advisable that you probably have a third option, right? So you have Google Drive, persons use OneDrive, they use Dropbox, right? You could even, one of the things that I would have done while studying and stuff like that is that I used to email stuff to myself. So I have it on multiple systems if needed, So there are some options available to you, right? So it's something to consider. Any other questions? So, thank you very much. I turn you over to another member of our team, that is Mr. Derek Hack. He is the project manager at TechU for digital transformation and automation. Thank you very much, everyone.
While we're waiting for Mr. Hack to come forward, thank you so much, Mr. Leger. There was certainly some alarming statistics inside of there. I mean, we may think that we're not taking cybersecurity seriously, but when you look at the cost, there's a saying, ignorance is expensive, and we're getting to realize that in the world of cybersecurity, it can be quite costly indeed. So continue to pay attention, continue to take the notes, share with your friends, and even invite them, encourage them to join now, because you have businesses and you may be susceptible to so many threats that can affect your bottom line. So it's important that we pay attention, we're aware, and we implement the tools that are available. So we'll welcome at this time Mr. Derek Hack, and he's going to take the second part of the presentation. Let's welcome Mr. Hack.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Derek Hack. Thank you, Sion and Lennon. Very informative presentation. It's a lot of content you all went through, but you all delivered it in a very digestible manner and fun manner, so we thank you for that. Now, we've just heard about two very, very important topics. And, it's essential that everyone, every citizen, every organization, be mindful of these things, these concerns that Sion and Lennon would have shared, as well as some of the strategies and the things that we've discussed in terms of ways of mitigating those risks. Now, cybersecurity and AI, both are essential building blocks for the digital future we want to walk into or occupy, right? But here's the thing, to truly unlock the value of these technologies, we need to think a little bigger. We need to have a big picture. And that's where digital transformation comes in, and that's going to be the focus of this session. Right now, in terms of digital transformation, there are lots of misconceptions about what it is. So for us to get started, let's actually kind of understand that and move forward in terms of what is digital transformation and what it is not. So we'll start off with the what is it not. Right? So in terms of digital transformation, you may hear a few terms. You may hear digitization as a common term. You may hear digitalization, and that's sometimes used interchangeably with the term digital transformation. But there are nuanced differences, and we need to be mindful of. So, for example, the first term, digitization, generally that's about taking something that's in an analog or physical form and converting it or transforming it into some kind of digital format. So a common example would be scanning a document or scanning a book, right? Converting it into a form, maybe a PDF, maybe images, that can now be uploaded into some technology and or shared through some technology. Another example of digitization is music or audio or some kind of physical media like a cassette or a record, a vinyl, where you've enjoyed it in that form, but moving forward, perhaps you want to enjoy it in another platform. Perhaps you want to listen to these things on your phone, on your mobile device, on your computer. So converting those forms of media into a digital format so that you could play it on your phone, play it on your digital device, that is also an example of digitization. Right now, digital transformation, this is actually, hold a sec, please. So the next term that we'll kind of just clarify is the idea of digitalization. So we spoke about digitization, taking something in a physical form, converting it into a digital form. Then generally we talk about digitalization. And digitalization is usually about taking some process and trying to improve it through the use of technology. It may be, there you go. Still the wrong one. Oh wait, no, here we are, back up, right. So it may be something like if we consider our education system, if we consider schools, students, teachers, what have you, a simple example would be if we have physical resources, it could be exam papers, it could be printed notes, what have you. We not only digitize it, but we use some technology that allows some process to improve. For example, if we were to upload something to a school portal, it now becomes shareable and accessible to anybody, anytime, anywhere, right? So there's a process, maybe an existing process, most likely, and you add technology to it in some way to get some kind of benefit or enhancement to that process. Another example is some of the things that we now have available to us in Grenada, where there are certain services that you would like to access. You may want to pay for something. You may want to submit some kind of application form or registration form, and you now have a digital platform that allows you to do that. So the process is now improved in some meaningful way. Now, digital transformation, it's important to recognize that digital transformation is not about just adding fancy tech, right? You could spend a lot of money on tech, and it does not help the thing that you're trying to achieve. It doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't satisfy a need. It doesn't add value, right? So you would have heard and seen and maybe interacted with many of these things over the past few years. You know, we add tablets and laptops to a given space. We may try to bring in VR or XR. We may try to apply robotics or automation in some way. And all of these things can add value, but the value is not by just throwing the tech in, right? That's called tech infusion, right? That's not necessarily a digital transformation. So what is digital transformation? Any thoughts? Anybody want to share their own definition or their own perspective with respect to the term? There's no wrong answer. It's whatever it means to you. Anybody wants to try giving it a go? I have prizes too. Okay, I'll answer this one. Right. So digital transformation is more than just adding tech. It's a little deeper than that. It could involve digitization. It could involve digitalization, right? But it's about rethinking fundamentally how we do the things that we do, right? And that could be in any walk of life. It could be in a business, right? It could be in a church. It could be in a home. It could be in our personal lives in some way. But the point is that we are rethinking so that we can leverage technology in order to create meaningful value and better outcomes, right? If a simple example is our education system. Throwing a laptop in a school is not necessarily going to result in better grades, right? Or better student attendance, or any of the good things that we want to achieve. Now it will be, the laptop and the technology would be a key part of a strategy that helps us achieve that goal, but by itself, the technology adds very little value. If you have a digital transformation plan that takes that technology, infuses it, sure, but integrates it effectively in any space, and people have buy-in, they're willing to use it, they know how to use it, they know how to leverage it to add value, then you can get the positive outcomes, the value that you want out of any investment. Any questions about this, or does this kind of make sense? The distinction between the digitization, digitalization, and digital transformation. And digitization, by the way, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Digitization is an essential step towards transformation. So is digitalization, right? But if you take big picture and you want synergies across the different ways that you invest in technology and apply technology to a given space, then you're now talking deeper. You're talking digital transformation. All right, so what are the components of digital transformation? There are many different frameworks out there, many different research-based models that come up, but at the very least, almost all of them will talk about these four things there. Well, five. Digitization, you need to get it into the technology in some way. The data, the information that you want to manage, it must be put in the technology. It will involve people. At the end of the day, you just throw technology. If nobody wants to use it, it's not going to help anything. If nobody knows how to use it, it's not going to help anything. So people are key parts of any digital transformation initiative. They are processes, the things we do and the way we do them. We don't want to just, add technology, but we do things in the same old way. It's not really adding value. What is the purpose of the technology if you just repeat the old way in a new way? Not really helpful. Now, we'll get back to that. And naturally, there is technology in some form. There will be some introduction of technology. And finally, there must be change. We must accept the responsibility for changing the way we do things. If we don't agree to the change and follow the steps that allows us to make that change and derive that value, obviously, we're not going to benefit from any investment in technology. Right, now why does digital transformation matter? At the end of the day, there are problems out there that need to be solved. There are needs that we can address through leveraging technology. Grenada is actually in the middle of a digital transformation project. Did you all know that? Yeah, you all are well on your path to digital transformation. Just recently, I think it was 3 days ago, you guys published the primary school curriculum, digital curriculum, right? That was in the news just a few days ago. And it's a fantastic initiative because now it means that within our school system, we are preparing young learners not only to adopt technology, but to leverage it to benefit them in various ways. And it's not just about teaching them IT. We actually, through the curriculum, technology is integrated. We are showing them how to use technology for day-to-day life. We're showing them how to use technology to solve math problems, business problems, right? If you're setting up a business, these are things that you could do to leverage technologies to support that. So we are very much along a digital transformation pathway. And there are still problems, there are still needs, but through leveraging technology effectively, we can address a lot of problems. And we can include people in things that perhaps we didn't have opportunities to do so before. So in terms of what we want to achieve today, this is kind of the journey we're going to map out. We want to understand our own context. I want to understand your scenario, your situation from a digital transformation point of view. We want to talk about some of the pitfalls or challenges that you may have experienced, and we want to try and brainstorm about strategies that we could use to address them. All right? So what we would like is, let's go to Menti as well. Would someone be able to share it in the chat, the Menti link, if possible? Let me bring up the QR. Right, so we want to go to menti.com, and we have the code. Yep. It's coming up. Right, so we have the code 64797881, and we'll show the QR in a bit. Sorry, we'll open up Menti in a bit. So if you still have your Menti up, let us visit menti.com and enter that code. And we have a few questions that we want you guys to answer. Again, in the interest of first reflecting on our own situation so that we could learn about each other. And secondly, so that we could figure out, well, if these are the challenges that we face, how can we collectively solve them through technology? Right. Okay, so we have a couple people joining. All right, and we're going to use, again, the same Menti space for a few different questions throughout the presentation. So let's see. Okay, so let's move on to the first question. Right, where are you along right now on your journey of digital transformation? And the you could be you representing a company, an organization of some kind. It could be you as an individual. It could be you as a sole trader, a small business owner. It could be anything, whatever perspective you want to share with us, please share with us. Right, so we have a few people coming in, right? Some are not yet started, and that's perfectly fine. Some may be a little hesitant to start because it's a a challenging endeavor, and we may want to think through some of the things that we need to do in order to maximize the investment. Some of us are making early steps, fantastic. And some of us are probably a little more advanced, so making positive steps or progress along a digital transformation journey. For those who are both online and in person, can you, some of us, just share what type of role or perspective are you responding from? Is it a small business owner? Are you representing an organization or a department? Are you just a citizen who wants to upskill and wants to learn about these things, and you're sharing from that point of view? Anyone? Just let me know. What perspective are you sharing from? Yes? Personal growth, fantastic. I'm a lifelong learner myself, and any opportunity I can learn, I will take that opportunity. Miss? Business. Small business, fantastic. So welcome. Anyone else? Sir? Director of a credit union, fantastic. So you're representing the perspective of the credit union. Very nice, awesome. Anyone else, sir? Small business as well. Small business, fantastic. So I'm hoping that this presentation helps all of us achieve the goals and objectives of us being here. And feel free, obviously, to come and chat with us after. So we have a lot of people at different stages along the life cycle, and that's normal. And in fact, for many, digital transformation will never end. It will be ongoing, right? Obviously, you need to pause and reflect at times, but ultimately, in all walks of life, in business, what have you, we always want to improve. And if technology can help us do that, then we tend to continuously apply technology, hopefully in a very structured manner, in order to derive value. Awesome. Can we go on to the next one? Right. What has your biggest challenge been with respect to either adopting new technology or moving forward with digital tools? Anyone? So on the next slide, I believe, right, we will see some of the responses coming up. So feel free to post your comments. It's an open response type question. So let us know, what has been your biggest challenge in adopting or moving forward? It's fantastic. I saw that first response and I'm like, yep, that's hit the nail on the head. End users. Finance. Fear. Interesting. The person who responded fear. If you're willing, if you're not, it's okay. But if you're willing, could you elaborate either in person if you're here or on the chat? Is the person here? Does anybody else think about fear when it comes to challenges in digital transformation? No? Are we seeing anything in the chat? Too many tool options, costs and usability, resistance to change. So getting persons on board and resistance to change is also, related, obviously. Right. So definitely what you guys are experiencing in terms of the challenges, those are perfectly normal, common challenges with respect to technology. And not even just modern technology, but technology from, back in the day. When we moved from blackboards to whiteboards. I was there as a teacher. You had chalk all over yourself at the end of the day. We moved to whiteboards. Your whiteboard marker always running out, right? You have to buy it yourself or find some or what have you. So it's technology in all forms. This is normal, a challenge when it comes to bringing it out, getting value from it. Let's switch back to our presentation, if we may. Right. Great. So in terms of the drivers of digital transformation, there are many reasons why we go and adopt technology and try to transform through technology. So one of the reasons are that the people that we serve, our members, our customers, they have changing expectations. They want things faster, easier, without having to physically go into a building, drive down to whatever location your store or wherever is at. They want things at their fingertips, anytime, anywhere. And therefore, in response to that, as a business, you need to adapt, right? You need to provide the things that people are asking for. There may be technology advancements that you can clearly see, yes, if I add this to my circumstance, my business, my life, it's going to make my life better. It's going to make somebody's life better. It's going to solve some problem. It's going to address some need. There may be competitive pressure. You may be in a business or organization that faces stiff competition, and you have to distinguish yourself in the marketplace, and therefore, maybe your business competitor has already added some technology, and you are already seeing, okay, this is going to cause a problem because they are delivering things easier, more effectively, faster, what have you, and I need to keep up, and I need to even surpass them. So for you to remain competitive, you may not have a choice, right? There are regulatory changes, so things in the legal and regulatory world may be coming in, and I may now have to apply certain controls over the way I do things. It could be the way I capture and report finances. It could be the way I procure goods and services, what have you. And having to do it using a manual process might be labor intensive. It might be time consuming. It might be prone to human error. And therefore you decide, well, let's add technology, because the technology will add controls that make the things that I have to do around all of these things, capturing data, reporting things, the controls through the technology may make my life easier. Operational efficiency is a big one. We want to cut time, we want to cut costs, we want to make everyone's life better. We always have to be mindful. Sometimes we change or integrate technology to add value to customers or members, and we forget our staff. We forget the people who day to day have to handle the things behind the scenes. And while it's good to do things to make things better for your members and your customers, you cannot or should not do so at the expense of your staff, at least not long term. That's not a winning strategy long term. Right. And data utilization, at the end of the day, if we can take data, convert it to information, and take information and convert it to knowledge, we can make decisions more effective, right? Because they're now informed by actual data, and it's not just a gut feeling. And the technology helps us take that data. It might even find knowledge about things that we didn't know about. And we can use that again to deliver excellent services or add value in some other way. So what are the potential value that can be derived from digital transformation? And just in the interest of time, I'll go through very quickly. Obviously lower costs. Operating costs could be saved in many ways because it might be less time intensive, less human resource intensive, and therefore the time that we would have used to do the thing that we were doing, the staff could attend to something else, let's say. So instead of, spending the time typing in things or handwriting here and then photocopying there and then key entering somewhere else, instead of doing that, you could be spending the time interacting with your members and your customers and basically delivering as excellent a service as you can. Right. Any questions about this? Makes sense, right? Awesome. What is your organization's biggest driver for digital transformation? Again, just in the interest of time, we'll move forward. And let's get into some of the challenges and or roadblocks. So I'm going to tell you a tale, what I call a tale of two digital transformations. So this happened about a little over 20 years ago. I was a young man then, so be nice. I didn't know everything. Yes, I had a full hair, brown hair in those days, not anymore. And it's basically a tale of transformation where one project was very successful, the other one less so. And these projects were actually done pretty much around the same time. And both projects involved a setup like this, where you had a national coordinating agency that was responsible for delivering certain types of services. These organizations had a large inventory of resources that they were provisioning to citizens of the country. Right? So you have a lot of stock of something. I'm not going to give too much details, but you had physical resources that citizens of the country could benefit from by borrowing or taking loans of these resources, and they could use it for different periods of time. That national coordinating agency worked through medium-sized agencies at the district level, and then within each district there were multiple smaller entities or agencies that would then basically support the activity of getting the resources to the citizens of the country, right? So the successful project, again, this is the specifics of it. One coordinating agency, 20 larger agencies at generally the district level, or maybe 2 per district, depending on the size, and about 150 smaller locations. The failure case was actually a lot smaller in terms of problem space because it had less agencies. One coordinating agency, 134 small locations. And basically the problem that we're trying to address through technology is the same. We had a lot of physical and digital resources or assets. We had to manage them. People could access them. And we needed to find a way of allowing people to access them when they wanted to access them. We had to find a way of managing the loan and borrowing and returning process. The return process is important too, right? Because we do spend a lot of money on these assets. And a lot of information needed to be pulled or retrieved from each level. So the coordinating agency would naturally want to understand within each smaller agency what was the catalog of resources that were there at that location, what was dispatched or loaned out, what was damaged and needed to be replaced, and all of the things that you could imagine in between. So, as I said, this is a tale of 2 digital transformations. I was brought in for a technology project. As I said, I was a young man. They said, come help out, we have a technology project. These are your 2 clients, get it done. Deliver the technology. I'm like, okay, no problem. One project was about 800,000 USD. Next project was a little over 400,000 USD. So fairly good sized projects, especially for the time. Was the source of the failure the technology or the software/technology vendor? The reality of the circumstance, the situation was it's actually the same vendor and pretty much the same technology. Right? There were differences, yes, but the differences were minor enough that you could consider it to be practically the same technology, built by the same team, managed by the same vendor. Right? So it wasn't the technology. And the reality is, in most digital transformation projects, as long as you choose the right vendor or the right technology, usually technology is not the problem. Right? So don't blame the tech. It's usually the most innocent thing in the world, right? Right, so another possible source of failure, well, maybe we didn't train people, right? That happens. Sometimes we deliver technology, we forget about training. The reality is we did have multiple rounds of training all the way up and down the chain. So from, senior management, middle management, down to the person in the front line, multiple rounds of training over significant periods of time. And again, takeaway, technology training does not mean transformation. If I learn to use technology just for the sake of technology, that does not necessarily guarantee change. Right, now what made the successful project successful? Well, one thing is they had a very clear and specific vision for how the technology would add value. They knew what they wanted. They had a vision for the end goal, and it was important that enough that they actually put it on paper. It wasn't this, abstract idea. It was very granular, very specific, and it was documented. So they had very clear statements. Before, they had resources that nobody was using. They wanted people to use it. So they set a target for themselves. We want to increase the usage of these resources. We want to increase it by this much within this time frame. And because they made that commitment, naturally they would put resources and effort behind achieving that particular target. They wanted to reduce operational costs. And again, it wasn't vague. They had a specific commitment that they made. And in making that commitment, they knew that they had to change. Right? You can't say you're going to reduce costs by 30% and then say, no, I don't want to change in order to achieve that. You must accept that for you to achieve the clear outcome, you must, in some way, choose to change. Another thing is they had a subject matter expert, what we call an SME or SME, that took ownership for delivering value. And that's the important thing. It's not about delivering technology. I was brought in to deliver technology. I was young, naive, didn't know any better. I delivered a fantastic technology project. It wasn't necessarily a fantastic transformation project. The SME decided or recognized, we worked together, we recognized that it wasn't about the technology, but we had to help the people understand how to use the technology to deliver the various services. And that meant that we needed to understand the pain points of the existing way we do things, the existing processes, and we had to design better processes that were now enabled by technology. And that's what we did, right? We brainstormed, we drew a lot of things, we had a lot of working sessions, and we documented processes, new processes, what we call future state processes. We documented them so that we knew where we would want to get to in terms of our transformation. We knew that one of the goals was to save cost and to optimize resource utilization. So obviously we needed data. We needed to be able to report on what is being used, how much of the inventory is good, how much of it is bad, how much was returned. So again, we worked together with the SME and the vendor company, and we figured out, well, what reports or dashboard, what pieces of data and information was needed for us to achieve the objectives, right? All of these things contributed to the success of the project. No one thing, but a lot of it together is what put together, what contributed for success. The successful project, we also trained staff. The difference is we didn't train staff on technology. It's not about clicking here, clicking there. We trained staff in how to use the technology along with the process so that we could add value. And that's a big difference, right? You could click around on this thing all day, but if it doesn't support your day-to-day processes, the way you deliver services, it's not going to matter. It's not going to add any kind of value. Right. So we train staff in how to generate reports, how to read and interpret reports, and how to use those reports to actually make decisions. Because we had to, we're managing an inventory, a very expensive inventory. I think it was $90 million of inventory at the time, and we had to make sure that it was used effectively. Otherwise, what's the point of spending so much money on something that nobody's using or not using as optimally as possible? The failed project. As you can imagine, the opposite of what a successful project did. They had very weak vision. That was abstract, not very specific. We want to improve things, okay, by how much? If you don't have a target, any improvement is better, right? But if you don't have a target and you don't accept responsibility for achieving that target, you're not necessarily going to make the change that's going to be required for you to get to where you want to go. There was no SME or process design involved. They said, basically the project stakeholders said, get the technology out, we'll deal with that stuff after. The problem with that is that technology could be delivered, could be working effectively, but if it's not configured properly, if it's not reporting, generating in the way that you need information, if the frequency and the manner in which the data is delivered is not helpful, then obviously it's not going to add any meaningful value. We trained on the technology. They used it multiple times. We had multiple sessions. We had even kind of a certification process, certified to use this technology. But even though the technology was in the space at each agency level, the coordinating agency did not know how they wanted the staff on the ground to use it. They did not know what type of reports they wanted from the staff at those district level agencies. They didn't know how often they wanted those reports. And therefore, when those below, the frontline staff, started asking questions, well, what do you want us to do now? The coordinating agency basically said, just wait. We'll let you know. Hold on. Now, by that time, training time is now, we did training 2 months ago. Now we did training 3 months ago. Now we did training 4 months ago. And we did training on the technology, so it was very surface level. It wasn't ingrained in the way we do things. So when they eventually figured out how they wanted to do things, naturally, for you to get value, you would have to retrain everybody on the process along with how the technology supports the process, right? So the consequences, at least at first, was that it was a successful technology project, but it was, at the time, a failed digital transformation project. There was low adoption. Nobody knew how to use it. Nobody wanted to use it. There was no interest in using it because if you don't know how you want me to use it, how am I supposed to know? I could do my own thing, which some people did, but then ultimately that's not achieving the goal. And there were many goals associated with that. And essentially the failed project resulted in no meaningful value. Naturally, we didn't leave it in that state, but at that point in time, compared to the other project, it was a failure. All right? So, in summary, you could have two projects with the exact same technology, the exact same steps, but if some of the other more human elements and process elements are not considered, it is likely not going to deliver the value that you are seeking. So, in this story, there are some common digital transformation challenges that may have come up. Unclear vision of value. We took, in some cases, some digital transformation projects take a tech-first approach. I like that. Bring this drone in, add this VR here, throw a laptop there. Or I like this vendor. Well, we have an engagement with this vendor, let's just stick with them. The problem with that is that the technology may not be fit for purpose or fit for use. No process design or poor processes. We simply take the old stuff, we put it in the new, but it's the same old process. Or we didn't think through the pain points, and therefore we didn't design or customize the technology to fix the pain points. There may be resistance to change, where you're adding technology, I'm going to lose my work. It's a real fear. And if you don't involve the stakeholders, that fear may manifest itself in ways that are damaging. And if the intention is to leverage the technology to add value, you involve the stakeholders so that the solution comes from them, because it's their challenges, their problems that you are trying to solve. And if it comes from them, they are happy. This is my system. It was built from my needs. And therefore, they are more than willing to use it, and they wouldn't feel, I'm going to lose my job. Right, skill capacity gaps, a normal thing. It could be at the base level. Basic technical skills might be needed. And then it could be at the process level. It could be at the maintenance level. It could be different ways. Data and infrastructure challenges. Again, normal challenges. TechU is here to help. We have data and infrastructure services. And it could be vendor technology mismatch. Maybe we didn't let the vendor lead the decision, but maybe somewhere along the line, we did our procurement process, but maybe we still ended up with the wrong vendor or wrong technology. Perhaps because the way we measured or evaluated technology, perhaps that was flawed. And that happens from time to time. Right. Lots of other things. One of the key things I want you to keep in mind is not measuring or not documenting the expected value. If you just say, we want to improve things and leave it as open as that, you can't measure if you are successful. If, however, you know for a fact, hey, this currently takes 20 minutes to do, and I want to get it down to 8 minutes, or I have members waiting in line for 25 minutes to get served, and I want to bring the wait time down to 3 minutes. You know, these are specific targets, and once you have that, you can figure out, well, can this technology and process achieve that or not? And you could measure, you could improve continuously over time. And naturally, that will involve understanding your current processes, where they are at, how long they take, the cost of them, and the general pain points of every step of the process. If you could understand that first, and you could understand where you want to get to, then you could plan accordingly, choose the right technology, design the right process in order to achieve those targets. And finally, lack of change management, where you just did things, you didn't involve people, and they might be stressed, they might be resistant to change, they may actively try to sabotage your project, or at least through, just not taking it on, it might just not add value because nobody's willing to leverage the technology to improve day-to-day life. Right. So moving straight into Menti again. The next question, if you could. Which challenges do you or your organization, what have you experienced on your digital transformation journey? If you could take a few minutes and share that. And if anybody wants to share verbally as well, please do. Anyone? What challenges have you experienced in digital transformation and or in adopting technology? Okay. Right.
From certain key stakeholders early, you end up going to, now let's launch 1.2, 1.13,
right.
2.5, 3.0.
Yeah.
So you get the buy-in and you make the tweaks.
Right. Exactly. I mean, you invest so heavily in technology, but if nobody's using it, you're not going to get the benefit from it, right? So you have to find ways to drive that buy-in, to understand what may hinder buy-in, and put things in place so that people are willing and eager.
Yeah, and they can see they can buy into the end results of that.
Right.
We're looking for efficiency, we're looking to reduce hours, we're looking to increase our return on whatever it is we're offering.
Exactly.
So really driving those points, like where the value added is.
Exactly. Clear outcomes, right? We want student success to improve. We want, absences in schools to reduce. We want math scores to soar. And that, by the way, is a common challenge throughout the region. And again, these are things that technology can do to solve the problem. So let's see, what are some of the things that, the next slide, please. Yeah. Right, so this is the one that, apologies, this is the one that we should respond to. Let's respond to it now if we may. You should see it on your mobile device now. What challenges have you or your organization experienced on your digital transformation journey? It could be recent, it could be in the distant past. Let's share if you can. And I've experienced all of them in various stages of various projects. And again, that's how we learn and how we grow and how we change. And in fact, when I started back in the day, there was no term called digital transformation. I mean, it was digitization more than anything else. It was adopting technology, it was systems and analysis and all of those other terms that we used at the time. Right, so skills and capacity gaps are a major one, seemingly, right? So training, maybe we ourselves need training. Maybe we are uncomfortable with technology and we need a little hand-holding to get started. And then once we get started and we imagine how the technology can add value, then we can now design processes and leverage the technology more effectively. But we have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere. And again, I draw reference to education because it's one of the things that is in my background. For example, with teachers. We started with giving them projectors and laptops, and we started letting them, everything that was on the board is now projected, right? Or we may give them a digital whiteboard, and the mechanisms that they use to teach writing on the board now translates well to now a digital space. So they gain some level of familiarity. It's an easy transition, or easier, because it's a familiar modality. And over time, once you get that level of comfort, you could then say, well, guess what? You know what you could do next? You could record lessons. You can capture these lessons and share it with your students so that they can replay it. You can have students from around the world join in on your class simultaneously. They don't need to physically be here. You could bring in guest lecturers from outside and connect them to this digital whiteboard. So again, you start small. It could be training, and then you grow. So another one, resistance to change, an important thing. And again, it's about us going back and making sure that we do the things that are going to reduce the likelihood of resistance to change occurring lower down. And that means involving people, listening to them. What are the challenges you face? What would you like in some type of technology solution? If I was to bring it to you, if you could dream it up, what would you want? Don't give me a name brand. What do you want in terms of a benefit or a value that the technology could add? You listen to them and you use that, and obviously you support them with training and hand-holding. Awesome. All right, so let's move on very quickly. Let's see. Okay. How much time do I have? I can ramble. Sorry, apologies. I will try to. All right, let's go back to the presentation if we may, please. So we'll wrap up the presentation side. So how do we avoid or mitigate these common challenges? Well, an easy answer is do the opposite of the failed project, right? Do exactly the opposite. Follow the successful project wherever you can, right? I would say at the very least, have what is called a benefits realization plan or a value realization plan. Those terms are sometimes used interchangeably. Sometimes one is used more in project management, and the other is to use more in digital transformation. But it's a very clear plan. This is the value or the outcome that I want, with very specific targets. And then you have to reflect, you bring in your stakeholders. Okay, if we agree that this is our target, what are the things that we need to do to get there? What are the trade-offs that we need to make? What are the investments in terms of time and money? What are the compromises or changes that maybe we need to make in terms of our processes to get this done? But at the very least, starting with the value, the outcome that you want, is an important step. But before you could figure out what outcome you want in terms of 30% reduction in costs, 50% reduction in time. For you to have those targets, you need to know what the current state is, right? If you know you want to bring it down to 10 minutes, is 10 minutes better? Suppose the old way was 7 minutes. You add technology, it makes it 10 minutes. That's not adding value, right? So you need to understand your current state. You need to create a value or benefits realization plan with very specific targets based on your baseline. You need to monitor how things are going. So you must have some kind of tracking mechanism, some reporting mechanism of how the technology and or process and or training is adding value. And then you adapt and improve over time. Right, and there's other stuff that we will share when we share these slides. All right, any questions at this point? We okay? All right, let's get back to Menti. If you can, Lennon, please. Right. So while we get to Menti up, are there any questions at this point? We're now wrapping up. We'll let you go soon. Any questions on anything digital transformation? Could be in any space, sir. Yes, we can share these slides with you guys after. Not a problem. Denise, so we can organize the sharing of these slides. We have some stuff. Yeah, don't worry, we'll organize. Once we are registered and or we have your email address, yeah. Any other questions? Awesome. Okay. So I want you to think of what you want to achieve in the future in terms of adopting technology. It could be, as I said, in your home. It could be in your small business. It could be in your, multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar organization. It could be anything. What do you want to achieve, and what areas would you like more support or solutions in? If you could share that with us, please, that would be fantastic. Right? It could be we want to make our daily lives easier. It could be that we want our learners, our students, to do better. It could be we want our teachers to leverage technology more effectively. It could be that we want to expand our reach. Maybe we're a small business. Maybe we want to access customers, consumers throughout the nation or around the region or around the world, right? It could be anything at all. Curriculum redesign and registration process. Yes, I've heard challenges about the registration process. I know it's a bit time consuming and very stressful. Any other areas? Would anybody like support in cybersecurity? How about that? That could be some of the things that we need. Maybe we need more training and or hand-holding or services related to cybersecurity. Maybe we need support with respect to digital transformation as a whole. Maybe we need support with respect to designing new processes that improve operational efficiency. Maybe it could be that we want to start a project, but we're scared about our staff worrying about job loss. And therefore, we need to have help with change management. Right, so we have improve operational efficiencies and enhance customer experience, navigating the digital space broadly. Awesome. There's so many technology options. Maybe we just need a guide to help us walk through, just thinking about technology, thinking about the steps to make technology work for us. Expand my reach, access to customers, and definitely cybersecurity. Support in starting a new business. I would like more support in finding an entry-level cybersecurity job. Well, Lennon is there. Lennon is our cybersecurity expert. He can tell you a lot about that. Awesome. All right. Let's move on quickly. I know I'm rushing a little bit. I don't want to keep you all too long. Is that the last one? I think we had one before. That was the last one? Awesome. All right. Fantastic. So any last questions? Hopefully this was helpful. And yes, we will share the resources later on. But open to questions for anybody about anything digital transformation, cybersecurity, or AI. Feel free. Sure.
So I go online to do some online banking. Right? It's a new. I have an account there, and I decide I want to do online banking.
Right.
And I go online, and I can't find the application for the online banking or the form. And then I see a little video that says, "Come into the bank and get an application to do online banking."
Right.
And my mind goes like, "Why? Why do I need to go into a bank to fill out an application to do online banking?" It just feels like we're getting there, but the pace is so slow.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's common, if it's a security issue with identification. And I mean, we have to be mindful of all these things. But I thought I can fill out the application online. I can go in with my ID, and you can. Fine, I'm okay to go in and activate it.
Right.
But the fact that I have to go in and ask someone for an application to fill it out, that just yelled at me.
Yeah. No, it's actually a common frustration. And a lot of it has to do with regulations, the law, the legal boundaries in which whatever business or organization, whatever they're operating within. A lot of them require that you give consent in what we call a wet signature, physical signature. And as a result, businesses are kind of stuck in that they can't do anything outside of that because this is what the law says. Now, there are some adaptations and workarounds and what have you, but especially in a space where the e-legislation or the e-data legislation, in a space where those regulations and laws are now evolving, it's going to be a challenge at first. As we become more mature in technology, technology adoption, as we become more mature in seeing how technology could add value, then certain barriers are going to be reduced. And in the future, at some point in time, I'm not saying when, I don't know when, but yes, eventually, it will be something that we wouldn't have to worry about. Now, some of the legal requirements is to protect you, right? We've heard of threats and risks, right? And some of it is to make sure that you are who you claim to be and that we are giving this service to the legitimate person, right? So it might be a frustration, but it's to protect you ultimately at the start. And over time, when we have things like a single national ID system, we have two-factor authentication, multiple ways of digitally identifying and confirming your identity. When these things are in place, with the supportive legislation, those barriers would be reduced. Yeah? Sure. Any other questions? Yes?
In terms of adding value to our lives. And as an educator, I'm just wondering what your comments might be about AI and students, particularly in English and just in universities where they have to write and there's an overdependence on AI and there doesn't seem to be any kind of stop check or any kind of way that anything that can be done to prevent students from depending on AI and not using their own brains. Is there anything new from AI? As you mentioned before, the AI can help with AI.
Right.
Is there anything new that's happening here?
So my background is education as well. And my courses usually are programming courses. So it's not English, but there are rules and there are basically specific outcomes you want from a given assignment. Yeah? You want students to think, you want them to learn, you want them to solve a problem, apply, not just regurgitate, various things that you want to achieve through your lessons and through the assessments that you give. So, as an educator, if you put on your educator hat, you need to adapt. AI, they are going to use it. You give them an assignment, they are going to use it. You should start with that assumption. But perhaps change the way that you assess and or teach. For example, If you know they're going to use AI, let them use it. You can have students come up with prompts to generate, let's say, essays on a particular topic. You could then have them swap the results. Okay, so you read the essay from John, you read the essay from Jane, and then have them maybe grade it and see, well, what is good or what is bad about this essay in terms of grammatical structure, in terms of prose, in terms of whatever it is that we're doing. So if you kind of flip it, assume that they use AI and then leverage that to do the things that may be time-consuming or not as useful, or if you want to ensure that they're learning, let the AI create activities that you can use to kind of gauge that learning. So it could be that they generate the AI, but then they do the actual correcting and feedback on paper. You know, this is an essay that was AI generated. What's good about it? What's bad about it? Write your own thoughts on paper in the classroom related to this AI generated essay. So that, I'm not an English teacher, so that may not be the best Englishy answer, but from a programming point of view, that's kind of what we did. We assumed they did use it, and that certain things would be perfect and certain things not so much, and therefore we kind of flipped the switch. We said, okay, use the AI at home. No problem, use it. But then this is how we now assess your knowledge and understanding by you checking if AI did it well. That could be one way. All right, so wrapping up. So hopefully that helped. We'll talk after the networking session. So hopefully you guys had a good session. I know I learned a lot from these guys. So I'm thanking you. We'll talk later. Handing over to Denise or to Sherma.
That's okay. Thank you so very much, Derek. Indeed, very informative. And we know it's a lot of information to take in, and that's why we have the networking session. So feel free to ask your questions after the session. And one of the critical things to remember as well, as business owners especially, a lot of time is spent working in the business. And we need to understand the importance of working on the business. So when Derek would have mentioned of field transformation, taking the time to really study and plan what would work best for your operations to ensure that you have success in the long term, all right? So we want to encourage you to network and ask your questions, chat with the team, so you can learn more of how what they have to offer can help and add value to your business. So at this time, I would like to invite Ms. Denise Julianne Stout, the Marketing and Corporate Communications Manager at TechU, to bring our closing remarks and vote of thanks. Let's welcome Denise.
Good afternoon. I will be very brief. Thank you very much for attending our session today. I hope you learned a lot. We are looking forward to networking with you. We will be sending a post survey to you. It will come from marketing@techutt.com. It is not a phishing email. So feel free to click on the link and provide the required information. I invite you now, those of you who are present, to network with us for a while, and those who are online to connect with us online at any of our social media channels, or send further questions to marketing@techutt.com. Thank you very much for having us, and thank you to our partners, the St. George's Baptist Church, as well as Guardian Life OECS Group. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Denise. And a special thank you to all of you who showed up here this afternoon. Thank you to our online viewers and for the participation, because this evening could not have been, it would not have happened without all of us being here, and to our online viewers. So we want to thank you again, and we're going to invite you this time to join us for the networking session. To our online viewers, do have a pleasant afternoon, and we look forward to future sessions. Have a good evening.